Every gun store in America is running the same sale right now. Deep discounts on models that used to sell instantly. Some guns are marked down 30, 40, even 50%, and customers are still not biting. What's going on? Why are these 10 specific guns killing store profits? And should you take advantage of these rock-bottom prices or stay away? Let's find out. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Gun manufacturers can't just flip a switch and stop production. They've got contracts, they've got workers, they've got materials already purchased. So even when demand started cooling off in late 2023, factories kept churning out firearms. Number 1, Taurus G3C. Let's start with the Taurus G3C. This compact 9mm was everywhere in 2021 and 2022. Taurus positioned it as the budget-friendly concealed carry option, and it sold like hotcakes at around $300 to $350. The problem is Taurus flooded the market. They produced so many of these that every gun store in America probably has 5 sitting in the case right now. I'm seeing these listed online for as low as $220, and some stores are running deals where you can walk out the door for under $250 with a couple magazines thrown in. That's a 30% price drop from retail just 2 years ago. The gun itself is fine, it's not a bad piece. But when everyone and their cousin already owns one, and Taurus is still shipping them by the truckload, stores can't give them away fast enough. The used market is completely saturated with G3Cs too. Walk into any store with a used gun section, and you'll find 3 or 4 of them on consignment, priced at $180 to $200. Why would someone buy a new one for $250 when a barely used model is sitting right there for $190? First-time buyers grabbed these during the panic, fired 100 rounds through them, then upgraded to something else. Now those trade-ins are everywhere. Taurus also hurt themselves by releasing too many variations. The G3C, the GX4, the G3, the G3 Tactical. They cannibalized their own market. Customers got confused about which model was which, and Taurus dealers ended up competing against themselves. The G3C became the bottom tier of Taurus's own lineup, which tanked its perceived value even further. Another issue is brand perception. Taurus has been working hard to shake their old reputation for quality control problems, and the G3C was part of that effort. But legacy opinions die hard. When someone walks into a store looking to spend $300 on a carry gun, they're often steered toward used Glocks or Smith & Wessons at similar prices. The salesperson makes more margin on the used gun, and the customer feels better about the name on the slide. The G3C gets passed over despite being a perfectly functional firearm. Number 2, Smith & Wesson SD9VE. Next up, the Smith & Wesson SD9VE. This was Smith & Wesson's answer to the budget 9mm market, competing directly with that Taurus we just mentioned. The SD9VE was a staple, a solid entry-level pistol that retailed around $400. But here's where Smith & Wesson shot themselves in the foot. They kept the SD line in production, while simultaneously pushing their M&P Shield Plus and M&P 2.0 models. Customers started asking themselves why they buy the SD9 when they could spend an extra $100 and get a significantly better gun with the M&P brand recognition. Stores are now advertising the SD9VE for $280 to $320, and even at those prices, they're collecting dust. The market has moved on. People either want the absolute cheapest option or they want to step up to something with better ergonomics and features. The SD9VE is stuck in no man's land. The trigger on the SD9VE is notoriously heavy and gritty, which doesn't help its case. When you're competing in the budget category, every flaw gets magnified. Shooters compare it directly to competitors at the range, and the SD9 consistently ranks near the bottom in terms of shooting experience. Add to that the fact that Smith & Wesson themselves make better options, and you've got a product that even the manufacturer seems to have abandoned. Dealers report that when customers ask about Smith & Wesson pistols, salespeople immediately steer them toward the M&P line instead. The SD9VE has become the forgotten middle child of Smith & Wesson's lineup, and the sales numbers reflect that reality. Number 3. Springfield Armory XD Mod 2. The Springfield XD Mod 2 line is another victim of changing tastes. Springfield bet big on these pistols, marketing them heavily with the grip safety feature and decent ergonomics. They retailed between $450 and $550 depending on the configuration. The problem is twofold. First, Springfield's own Hellcat Micro Compact took off and became their star player, pulling attention and sales away from the XD line. Second, the market shifted towards slimmer, more concealable options. The XD Mod 2, while reliable, is chunky by modern standards. It's not quite compact enough for easy concealed carry, but it's not a full-size duty gun either. I'm seeing dealers marking these down to $350 to $400, and they're still not moving. One shop owner told me he's had the same 3XD Mod 2S in his case for 8 months. That's money tied up in inventory that could be used for guns people actually want. Number 4. Ruger Security 9. Ruger Security 9 hit the market as their striker-fired polymer 9mm option. It was positioned as a step above the absolute budget guns, but below the premium tier. Street price was typically around $380 to $420. Ruger makes excellent revolvers and rifles. Their reputation in those categories is rock solid, but in the crowded 9mm pistol market, the Security 9 just didn't capture enough market share. When someone walks into a gun store looking for a 9mm, they're usually asking about Glock, Sig Sauer, Smith & Wesson M&P, or maybe a CZ. The Ruger Security 9 became an afterthought. Now you can find these for $280 to $320, and stores are bundling them with spare magazines, holsters, whatever it takes to move them. The gun functions fine, but Ruger oversaturated their own market and couldn't compete with the name recognition of the bigger players in this category. Number 5. Canik TP9 series. The Turkish-made Canik TP9 series had a moment. Gun YouTubers loved them, forums praised their value, and for a while these $400 pistols were giving $1,000 guns a run for their money in terms of features and performance. Then the market got saturated. Century Arms, the importer, brought in massive quantities. Every variation of the TP9, the SF, the SFX, the Elite SC flooded store shelves. The initial wow factor wore off, and American buyers defaulted back to domestic or more established European brands. Current prices have crashed to $320 to $380 for models that were $450 to $500 just 18 months ago. The quality is there, the features are there, but perception matters in this market. People worry about parts availability, warranty support, and resale value with imported brands during uncertain times. Number 6. Mossberg MC2C. Mossberg is a household name in shotguns. Ask anyone about the Mossberg 500 or 590 and they'll tell you it's a workhorse. But Mossberg's entry into the concealed carry pistol market with the MC2C was rough. The MC2C came out in 2020, right as the market was going crazy. Mossberg couldn't keep up with demand initially, which sounds like a good problem to have, but they ramped up production, fixed early issues, and by the time they had a solid product flowing consistently, the market had cooled off dramatically. These pistols launched at around $490. You can now find them for $340 to $380, and dealers are struggling to move them. Part of the issue is that Mossberg's brand recognition in pistols is basically zero. People trust them for shotguns, not for their daily carry gun. Breaking into that market takes time, and Mossberg's timing was terrible. Number 7. Beretta APX. Beretta is legendary. The 92 FS is iconic. So when Beretta released the APX striker-fired pistol, people expected it to be a game-changer. It was supposed to compete with Glock and the new generation of polymer pistols. It didn't. The APX is a perfectly functional gun, but it brought nothing revolutionary to the table. In a market where Glock, SIG, Walther, and others had already established themselves, the APX felt like Beretta showing up late to the party. Original retail was around $575 for the full-size model. Now you're looking at $420 to $480, and even at those prices, stores report slow sales. Beretta fans want the 92 series. People looking for a modern striker-fired gun go with more established options in that category. The APX fell into the gap between the two. Number 8. SCCY CPX Series. SCCY built their reputation on cheap, American-made concealed carry pistols. The CPX-1 and CPX-2 models were everywhere at gun shows and budget-focused retailers. Street price was typically $250 to $300. The bottom fell out for SCCY because the competition got better in the budget category. Taurus improved their quality control dramatically. Ruger released the Security 9 and LCP Max. Even Sig Sauer got into the budget game. Suddenly spending an extra $50 to $100 got you a noticeably better gun from a more recognized brand. SCCY pistols are now selling for $180 to $220, and they're still slow movers. The used market is absolutely flooded with them because so many first-time buyers grabbed one during the pandemic and then upgraded as soon as they could. Why would a store push a new SCCY at $220 when they've got used ones on consignment for $150? Number 9. Rock Island Armory 1911 Tactical. The 1911 platform has a devoted following, but the market is divided between those who want a premium gun and those looking for a budget option to get into the platform. Rock Island Armory from the Philippines targeted that budget segment with their tactical series, typically priced around $500 to $600. Two problems hit Rock Island hard. First, American manufacturers like Ruger and Springfield started offering competitive 1911s at similar price points with better customer service networks. Second, the 1911 market itself contracted as more shooters moved toward higher capacity 9mm pistols. Current pricing on Rock Island. 1911s has dropped to $400 to $500, and turnover is slow. One dealer explained it to me this way: someone who really wants a 1911 will save up for a Colt, Springfield, or Kimber. Someone who just wants a reliable gun will buy a Glock or M&P. Rock Island lost both ends of that market. Number 10. Kel-Tec Sub-2000. Finally, let's talk about the Kel-Tec Sub-2000. This folding pistol caliber carbine was impossible to find during the height of the pandemic. People loved the novelty factor and the practicality of a compact carbine that took Glock mags. Kel-Tec ramped up production massively. They went from allocating a handful to each dealer to shipping them by the case. The market got saturated fast. Meanwhile, competitors released better pistol caliber carbines. The Ruger PC carbine offered more versatility. The CZ Scorpion, while pricier, provided a better shooting experience. Sub-2000s that were selling for $500 to $600 during the shortage are now advertised at $380 to $450. Some dealers are sitting on half a dozen of them. The folding gimmick isn't enough to overcome the stiff controls, mediocre trigger, and limited mounting options compared to what else is available. Section 2. Why this matters. So why does all this matter beyond just getting a good deal? This market correction tells us several things about the firearms industry and consumer behavior. First, brand loyalty is real but flexible. When times are desperate and inventory is scarce, people will buy whatever they can get. When the market normalizes, they go back to trusted brands with established reputations. Second, the budget segment is the most volatile. Premium guns from Sig Sauer, Glock, and HK are holding their value reasonably well. It's the $300 to $500 range where prices are crashing, because that's where the most competition exists and where consumers are most price sensitive. Third, retailers got burned by over-ordering. During the boom, distributors were allocating inventory and dealers were buying everything they could get. Now those dealers are sitting on 6 months to a year of inventory in some categories, and they're bleeding money on storage and opportunity costs. Fourth, manufacturers learned the wrong lessons from the pandemic boom. They scaled up production, assuming elevated demand would continue. It didn't. Now they're stuck with capacity. They can't easily scale back down without laying off workers and breaking contracts. Section 3. What this means for buyers. If you're in the market for a gun right now, you're in the driver's seat. Dealers are motivated. They need to move inventory to free up cash flow. They're willing to negotiate, throw in accessories, and cut prices in ways they wouldn't during normal times. But being a smart buyer means more than just finding the lowest price. You need to think about long-term value. A gun that's cheap because nobody wants it might be cheap for good reasons. Consider parts availability, aftermarket support, resale value, and whether you'll actually enjoy shooting it. The models we discussed today are cheap for various reasons: oversaturation, brand perception, better competition, or changing market preferences. That doesn't mean they're all bad guns. Some of them represent genuine value if you understand what you're getting. For example, that Canik TP9 might be a fantastic range gun even if it won't hold its value. The Ruger Security 9 will absolutely function reliably even if it's not the sexiest option. The Rock Island 1911 will teach you the platform even if purists turn up their noses. Section 4. What this means for the industry. Looking ahead, this correction is going to reshape the industry. Smaller manufacturers and importers are going to struggle. Some will exit the market entirely. We're already seeing consolidation and bankruptcy rumors around several companies. Retailers are going to be more conservative with ordering. The days of buying everything a distributor will sell them are over. Expect tighter inventory management and more focus on proven sellers. Manufacturers are going to have to innovate or die. Simply making another polymer 9mm isn't enough anymore. The market is saturated. Companies need to offer genuine improvements or fill actual gaps in the market. We might also see more direct-to-consumer sales. If dealers won't stock your guns because they can't move them, manufacturers will explore selling directly online and shipping to FFLs. This cuts out the dealer markup, but also eliminates the dealer's role in marketing and customer education. The firearms market in 2026 is a completely different landscape than what we saw during the pandemic years. Prices are dropping, inventory is piling up, and dealers are desperate to move certain models. The 10 guns we talked about today represent different aspects of this phenomenon: oversaturation, brand perception issues, poor timing, and changing consumer preferences. If you're shopping, do your research. Understand why a gun is cheap before you buy it. And remember, the best gun is the one you'll actually train with and carry. A $400 gun you shoot regularly beats a $1,000 Safe Queen every time. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what deals you're seeing at your local shops and whether you think this correction will continue or if we'll see prices stabilize. I'll see you in the next one.